It's Monday, January 6th, and you're listening to the Day Weather Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This week's weather is going to be a lot like what we just experienced. Now, that's going to really get on a lot of people's nerves who are tired of the wind. The wind has been relentless. It's come in surges. There's been lulls, but boy, the wind across many areas of central and southern Wyoming has been a real problem right after Christmas, as we have about every 2 days or so some type of wave moving through that makes it very windy on the plains, but at the same time brings a shot of snow to the high country, and that's how this week's going to go. There'll be snow in the mountain areas today and tonight, a break in the weather Tuesday and Wednesday, then another round of snow will hit the mountains late Wednesday into Thursday and Friday. Every time one of these waves comes off the Pacific coast, it increases the winds of the jet stream. The jet stream is moving at an angle nearly perpendicular or close to perpendicular to the Continental Divide, so you tend to have windy conditions east of the divide, snow in the high country. Temperatures are going to be close to average. What happens in this pattern is you get a little warmer ahead of these waves, a little colder behind them, so there's a little bit of an up and down with temperatures, so you don't really get real warm. You don't get really too cold. Temperatures end up close to normal, but the winds will be persistent and gusty on the plains. This will continue to plague Interstate 80. Interstate 80 again hit with snow and wind last night between Rawlins and Laramie. This is going to be an ongoing problem off and on through this week ahead. The pattern does favor that high country to get snowed on, and the snowpack is doing very well. Some of the major drainages, the big reservoirs of water, like the upper North Platte, 116% of normal, the lower North Platte, 152%. The Snake River is at 137% of average, and we've got the South Platte in Wyoming at 115% of average, 114% of average, with the South Platte River Basin in Colorado. In fact, every major snowpack basin in Colorado has above average snowpack, and we'll just continue to see that grow. Only in the far northwest parts of Wyoming do we have snowpack that's a little bit below average. The Shoshone River at 97. The snowpack up in Yellowstone is at 98% of normal. The Snake River about 90% of normal. But the way the pattern is evolving, we're going to see those snowpack areas get close to average before this week is over. This pattern of wind on the plains, occasional snow in the mountains, and fluctuating temperatures will likely go through this week. Now, as we get to the end of the weekend and next week, it does look like the trend is colder. We still don't see what I would call a significant snow event along the Front Range or plains. It just looks cold. It just looks like, well, an average winter weather pattern. You know, sometimes in the month of January, we can have a week or so of what we'd call a January thaw, or a period where it's consistently mild for a bit. I think our January thaw happened in December, when we had that warm spell for about 10 days just up before Christmas time. Looks like we're not going to see any type of pattern like that for a while, as the long-term trend for the second half of January is still looking pretty cold. Not brutally cold, but if you're looking for the coldest weather, it's going to be in the central and western United States here for the next week to 2 weeks to the next 3 weeks. It looks as though in the longer term, high pressure will build over the eastern Pacific, which will direct that jet stream further south in the western and central United States, while high pressure builds along the east coast. And when that happens, you kind of bottle up where the cold air is going to go, and that will funnel the coldest air into the central and western United States. And we're going to really see this late this week, next weekend, and the following 2 weeks after that. Any type of January thaw, prolonged mild weather, just isn't on the table, at least for the next couple of weeks. Thanks for listening to the Day Weather Podcast. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. Have a good Monday.